G'day mates, in today's video I want to talk about today's massive new update. We just had the throwable launch pad added to the game that is also in competitive, the shield bubble being re-added also in competitive, and the new Goo Gun which looks absolutely broken. I want to break down how that works and how you can start abusing it, because if you use this gun properly you're gonna get a lot of wins. Also, we just got news that a lot of pros, including top tier pros like Aqua and Pink, aren't going to be able to use their peripherals like their keyboard and mouse at the upcoming LAN event. This has caused a bunch of drama and I want to talk about why this is and what they can do, because playing on a mouse, keyboard or controller you're not used to for the biggest tournament of the year is going to be a bit of a disaster. So there's a lot to talk about. Let's just jump into it. Let's talk about the new update. And along with this new update we have three major changes, three new items in the game, or one of them being unvaulted. We have the Goo Gun, we have the throwable launch pad, and we have the shield bubble. Now I'm going to start off talking about the launch pad and the shield bubble because those two are in competitive before I talk about the Goo Gun that's only in public matches. Now, this throwable launch pad is different to the launch pad you're used to because it's not a trap anymore. It is an item that you throw down on the ground. I'm assuming this is to get around the fact that no builds cannot build launch pads because they have no material to place the floor. So it looks like they brought it back specifically with no builds in mind, but it has gone into competitive. But this does have a big balance change. This is no longer a trap slot. It is now an item slot. You have to give up carrying something to carry this launch pad. You can stack up to two of them, I believe. I've done as much research as I can. I've tried to find everywhere. It looks like you can carry two of these. In game, I was carrying two of them and I could not find a third one to test it. I'm pretty sure two stack would make the most sense. And for all intents and purposes, it is just a launch pad, but that is huge. Am I happy about this? Yes. You guys know if you've watched any of my videos, I want bounce pads and launch pads to be in the game permanently. Now that it's an item that you carry and not a trap, do I like it less or more? I kind of like it around the same. I get it. It balances it more in the sense that you have to carry it over another type of item. But I did really like having traps in the game because if you're super aggressive and you get a lot of kills and you play really W key, you get extra loot. You can carry more loot than other players. If you get 10 bounce pads and 2 launch pads because you were really aggressive in the early game by killing people, you carry that on top of your original loadout. But honestly, I'm excited to see how this one plays out. I'm just happy to have launch pads back in the game. I think they're one of the most balanced forms of mobility. If you use them properly, they're amazing. If you use them awfully, they're really, really weak. You just get beamed out of the sky, especially with how good everyone's aim is getting these days. So I'm excited to see how this one plays out in competitive. Then we have the shield bubble being unvaulted. Again, I think this kind of has no builds in mind because the shield bubble is one of those classic items for no builds in my opinion. I want to see Epic bring back the old smoke grenades, not like shadow bombs, the ones that you throw down that literally make a smoke cloud that other people can't see into and you can't see out of. I think that'd be really cool in no builds, especially no build competitive. I just watched the Twitch Rivals Grand Finals this weekend. I'd love to see how that plays out because it's not complete cover. You can still get sprayed into, but you can't see out, and you'd probably just use it to like make a trail to rotate to different safe places, like to get into a house. I don't know. I think it would be cool. Let me know in the comments if you agree, but the shield bubble is back. Another item that is just a staple of no builds. If you're stuck in the open, if you have a rough rotate, having these shield bubbles to kind of hide into and sit into or get you to another point of interest is amazing. I'm excited to see them back. As far as builds competitive goes, I also like them in build comp. I don't know how many people will be carrying them with the amount of good items that are in the game now. I'm assuming the chrome splash is going to be fixed soon in competitive. It is still not fixed as far as I can tell. If you guys don't know, there was a glitch that is still in the game but not in competitive where if you res someone with a chrome splash in water, they are then completely invincible to all damage and they win every game. So they had to vault the chrome splash effect in competitive and it looks like it hasn't turned back on yet. But if that gets fixed soon, which surely it's going to be fixed soon. It's like the main theme of the season. You've got to carry, throwable launch pads. You've got to carry the chili chug splashes. You've now got to carry chrome splashes. Do I think there's going to be room for shield bubbles with snipers, all the different meds? Maybe not. I think some people might carry them if they're really good with them or if they've got nothing better to carry. They will be really good when you get headshot sniped, then get the res off because a lot of teams are struggling to get their reses off once one person gets headshot sniped. In trios, one can hold the wall, one can res. It's a little bit easier. Duos, it is a lot harder after a headshot snipe, so shield bubbles might be able to counter that. A lot of people when shield bubbles were announced were saying that potentially armored walls would have just been better, and I think if Fortnite had only competitive in mind and not just no builds as well, armored walls probably would have returned. I agree that armored walls would be really, really cool to see how that plays out in a one-shot headshot meta, because if you get headshot from 200 meters away, one armored wall and you get the res off, and it's a little bit less punishing. If you hit a good shot and you can key someone though, then there's a little bit different. I think that'd be interesting, but the shield bubble is back. You can carry the same amount of them as always, which I believe is 2. I'm excited to see how it plays out. Before I talk about the Goo Gun, I do want to give my overall thoughts on the meta right now. I think this is the best Fortnite has been in Chapter 3, in my opinion, at least for competitive. I think this is the best meta we've had in a very long time. Since end of Chapter 2, I would say. I know there's still a bit of frustration on the shotguns. A lot of people want the SCAR back, they want the pumps back, but everything else around that is actually looking really, really good. It's sad to see that a lot of people aren't excited for competitive right now, because I truly think with the Invitational coming up, both the DreamHack lands and the meta we currently have with the map changing, which for me is making it more exciting. I am more excited for Comp Fortnite than I've been in quite a while, and I'm sad that's not translating to other people. If you're still enjoying it, I'm still going to be bringing the vibes, watching all the tournaments. If you guys want to tune into my stream today, I'm going to be playing the update and checking it out, twitch.tv/AussieAntics. But overall, I like the meta. If you don't, I'm sorry, but at the moment, I'm happy with the game. Moving on to the Goo Gun, and don't worry, this is not in competitive, thank God, because once I show you this footage, you're gonna understand this thing is a little bit crazy. It's literally what it sounds like. It is a gun that shoots a line of goo that sticks to targets and then explodes and does damage. It does a ridiculous amount of structure damage, and if you hit a lot of the goo onto someone, you can literally just phase it through their walls. Like if you shoot this on the roof of the builds, it'll blow up the roof and then fall in on them and will just obliterate them. So not in competitive. I'm interested to see how this goes. I'm going to be playing some pubs today to try this out. I have a feeling it's going to be very frustrating to verse, but hey, that's what pubs is for. A little bit of crazy items to mess around with. I guess we'll see how it goes. I don't think this will ever end up in competitive in any form. Fingers crossed. So what is going on with a bunch of pro players not being able to use their mouse, keyboard, headphones, mouse pad, anything at the upcoming FNCS Invitational? So this announcement was made in the Discord. It has been shared publicly by a whole bunch of pros, so I don't mind sharing this. We had Lisa from the Blast team, which is running the broadcast and running the tournament, who said, "Thank you to everyone who submitted their form on time regarding guest peripherals, in-game name, etc. For those who did not submit their form on time, you will be given Epic provided backup peripherals to use at the event if playing officially on stage. The IGN in-game name we will use for graphics, content, in-game, etc. will be as it is now in-game, and you will not be permitted any guests and +1s due to not meeting the strict deadline. Those who did not meet the deadline are as follows. We have Snacky, Bleed, Aqua, Pink, Commandment, Retake, Jinx, Macwood, and 40R Storm." Now, if you guys don't understand what's going on here, for you to play at an invitational, to play at a LAN event, you need to have your peripherals checked off to make sure they don't give you an unfair advantage, to make sure they're not cheating. There has been a bit of drama recently where it looks like the Wu-Ting keyboards, which are the keyboards that originally came out that have the double movement built into them, are also now being seen as a banned device at LAN. Don't panic if you're using a Wu-Ting at home. It's a phenomenal keyboard and you think you're going to get banned. No, only at LAN, because it looks like the players are not going to be able to use double movement at this LAN event. They're not allowed to download any software onto the PCs, and that includes double movement software. So you need to get your peripherals checked for things like this to make sure there's nothing built into them, to make sure there's not anything worse. Like if someone has like a mouse that has built-in aimbot, for example, like it's a LAN event, you need to take this seriously. And unfortunately, it looks like some of these pros didn't. So on top of not being able to use their peripherals, they're gonna have to learn how to play on, I believe it's Logitech peripherals. They're not the absolute worst in the world. I made a joke they were gonna get like a $10 office mouse, but it looks like they are gonna get Logitech peripherals. But it's the same as if I gave you a brand new, like let's say you're a PS5 controller player or PS4 controller player, and I give you an Xbox Elite 2. Or if you've been using, you know, the Logitech G Pro for the last 2 years, and all of a sudden I give you a Razer mouse. Like it's gonna feel terrible. You're gonna play awfully at what is the biggest tournament of the year. And I'm not really blaming Epic or Blast for this. You need to have a cutoff deadline. You need to have a date of which everyone has to have their details in. You just can't keep extending that. And it looks like the majority of pros did get theirs in, because you got to remember, this is a lobby of 100 pros with fills, and I'm only seeing about 10 names on this list. So it looks like a lot of pros were able to get their information in on time. There is a little bit more to the story though as well. We do have Tundra's management coming out saying that Pink wasn't just wasting time or being stupid. He was trying to figure things out for +1s and a bunch of other details. So I don't want these pros just made fun of for being idiots, for not getting their stuff in on time. We had Jinx come out and say, well, look, I'm a fill. I'm 99% sure I'm not playing, so I didn't really go to the effort of submitting my forms. But it is going to be a little bit annoying for some of these teams if they can't come up with a solution, because their best bet is they're gonna have to go out and get these peripherals now and start practicing. Maybe they'll extend the deadlines for certain things, but at the same time, they did say due to not meeting the strict deadline, those who did not meet the deadline, like they're pretty clear on the fact that I don't think these players are going to be able to get around this. Maybe we'll have to see, but I thought I'd include it anyway. Also, just in case people think this is Blast or Epic being really weird about this, I do remember when I went to the Australian Open in 2019, which was a $1 million Fortnite LAN event, there was players who didn't get their peripherals in on time for the charity event, the charity Pro-Am, and they weren't able to use their peripherals. They had to use the ones that were brought by ESL. People such as Mao, if you guys know, big content creator, he's left-handed. He had to use a right-handed mouse, so he didn't have the side buttons where he could press them, and they were both of his builds, and he just had to deal with it. So this isn't like an odd thing that Blast or Epic is doing. This is standard for pretty much every single LAN event, like ESL, who are one of the biggest companies at running in-person LAN events. I just want to make sure I gave that clarity so people don't just freak out thinking Blast are being overly dramatic. If you made it this far, you obviously liked it. Please chuck a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and I'll see you in the next one.